Okay, video number 2. Everything's already turned on. Hopefully you remember from the last video the order of operations. 1, 2, 3, and we turn off 3, 2, 1. I have gotten more phone calls and text messages than I could count on 2 hands. They don't know why nothing's coming out of the soundboard. It's always the same thing. I turned everything on. Well, obviously you didn't, because you didn't know. If you're certain the board is on, if you're certain every one of your amps is turned on, the only thing left is your channels are muted or you've got them turned down. Pay attention to this, because this is where I would like pretty much any situation to start out volume-wise. Set our left and right mains on -5 and set our subs in about the same spot, but you've got a little bit of play here. Some people like more bass, some people want less. This is where you should start with everything going on. But you're not finished. Once these are where you want them to be, make sure you unmute our subs and unmute the house. You'll notice I'm currently selecting auxiliary in USB FX returns. And if you look here, the only thing with anything active is our Mac. This is the PC audio. That's telling me something is making sound, the board's picking it up. Well, why can't we hear it, Alan? Well, obviously you can't hear it because first we need to turn the faders up, but there's still no sound. Why can't we hear it, Alan? You're still muted. So, before you make the mistake a lot of people would, let's turn that back down, unmute it first, then bring our faders back up. After you've done this a few times, you'll notice that you will never have the computer audio up at the same level that the instruments and the microphones are set at. So if you remember what I just showed you of how to simply get computer audio, that's the answer to all of the other problems you could run into. But instead of muting and unmuting and moving your faders up and down on the Mac channel, you're going to do it for the individual instruments and microphones. So let's take a closer look at the board, because this is overwhelming for a lot of people. All of these individual adjustments, they crammed into a smaller unit, and you now have essentially a computer folder with smaller files inside each folder. But if you know how to navigate your PC, your MacBook, no one knows how to navigate Mac, it's ridiculous. If you know how to navigate that, this will become second nature just like your machine. So let's take a look at what each channel is, what the subfolders are. If you're doing sound on a Sunday morning, you need to come through, unmute every channel. Notice that channel 1 through 16 is this top selection. This is all of our instruments. They're pretty clearly labeled. Guitar 2 is what John Kraft plays for us over on the right side of the stage if you're in the booth. The acoustic guitar, channel 13, that is the lead acoustic that Ben is usually playing. Channel 16, acoustic 2. This is the input over behind the keyboard if we have another guitar player. 17 through 32, your SM7B is the lead microphone, usually on the stand behind Ben or whoever's leading that day. Channel 18, 19, 20, and 21. These are intended to be for the singers. These 5 collectively go to the vocal effects that make the room sound more like a concert hall. We want singers to have some effects on their voice when they're dry, so to speak. It makes a huge difference in how pleasant all that is to your audience. So if we needed to run Sunday morning service, just like we unmuted all of our instrument channels, we would want to run through and unmute our vocalists. The host mic is whoever's preaching. These over here are currently not used for anything. So we have these extra channels that we could begin to assign more microphones or instruments to, any number of things. These 5 channels go to the vocal effects. Well, you need to know where the vocal effects are, and they are under your first DCA group. If we move all the way across here, you've got reverb, and delay. The most complementary effect is here on the verb side. And when someone's singing, I will have it at least here at a +5, maybe a little higher. The delay, I really don't see a use for this. More often than not, someone will forget that it's turned on, and then when someone's no longer singing and just speaking, you'll hear the same thing over and over again in the background, and people will be staring at you wondering what's going on. So delay is echo. We don't want echo. We want to turn up the Vokes verb because that draws out the tone and just makes everything sound full and soft. Hopefully that stayed as short as I wanted it to be. The only way to get comfortable with this is to just come up here and do it. There is really not that much to it when you get down the muscle memory. So if we shut this down the right way, we're going to take our faders for the main left and right, the subs, turn them all the way down, mute them, because I really don't want to chance something popping as we shut the system down. Mute the lobby speakers, our PCs turned down and muted. Just come across, mute our vocals, mute all of our instruments. And when we go 3, turn that amp off. 2, turn this amp off. 1, come to setup. You'll see on the screen over here you have options, shut down, reboot, update. We want to tell it to shut down. And now we can kill the board.